and we'll wipe out the old videos and pretend they never happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, the true way of doing it.
All right. Thanks a lot for Tyler for helping us to work through that issue.
Yeah. So
let's verify. Can we get some kind of verification about whether we are getting an echo again?
Let me check on Twitch. We good? No, still echoing. Wow. All right. Interesting. I wonder if we have KQSF pulled up. Maybe there's a YouTube channel somewhere with it. Oh. All right, well, let's kill that one.
That was the culprit.
The main page of Twitch. We blame Twitch.
Yeah, so we had a interesting. I mean, let's have a really quick post-mortem there. I mean, we had a window up in order for us to be able to show, footage if anyone wanted to bring that up. We had that set up just on the side, and we're on a page where there's nothing playing. But as soon as we started streaming, then that page actually picked it up, and that's what we were getting. It just like started auto playing a video that didn't even exist on the page at first.
Yep. Well, yeah. So we're back, and I think we're a little bit behind schedule, but that's fine. We will make it work, everyone. So I guess we can. I think we have to. Since I'm not an admin, I think we have to do it from yours. But yeah. So
invite people.
Oh right. Yeah, we might need to invite people again. But yeah. So we're here to discuss a bit about our GDC 5 experience, both as producers and as people who competed. Talk about tournament experience. And the goal of this stream is to just share our broader learnings out with the community to give you all a better idea of everything that had to happen to make this whole thing go.
Yeah, and also give props for all the people who have helped and continue to help.
Yes.
Make sure that the clocks run not too far delayed.
Well, I mean, honestly, most importantly, I think that's the big thing. Right?
Yeah.
Like Jess was saying in the chat the other day, like tournaments take a community, take a village to actually pull off. And while both of us did a lot of work, as sort of sometimes the faces of getting stuff done, like there are so many other people who did work, and they all deserve credit for everything they did. And so I'd want the people in the first segment to come on if possible. And I think Elise needs a specific, Elise needs a role to be able to get in here. Maybe we unprivate this channel.
Oh, I thought I added everyone.
EG3.
So yeah, while we get people added on, I guess the first segment here, we're going to talk about TOing, tournament organization, planning, the overall format of the tournament, and then general impressions on the play and the player experience. And talking about both people who, were involved in the planning of that, as well as, ahead of time, as well as those who were involved day of Saturday and Sunday, kind of making sure that like different sets and games ran on time, people knew rules. I also think the format is pretty different this this GDC, we ran this concept of power pools, which I hope that we can get some discussion around. I think there was pretty good feedback about that format overall. I think there's a desire maybe to try it out at some other upcoming tournaments. But again, we're going to get, I think, what's Dan, Jess, Elise. I'm definitely missing some others. On Rosalinda, yeah.
And we cannot find Elise for some
on shortly.
Let me see if I can invite her into this channel. Jeff is able to come in, but
okay, there's Jess. First, yes. Hey, Jess. Thanks for sticking around.
I actually had abandoned you guys, but I got the call.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was a funny new issue, but yeah.
Oh, Rosalinda's here now too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we can.
Okay, I'm so sorry. We're at the arcade. It's so loud.
All good. Thanks for joining.
I'll step outside.
And so we have Rosalinda, Jess, and then of course your host Felix and myself. I think maybe, I'm not sure if Dan is able to drop on.
I texted him to tell him to hop on. And let's get Elise in here if we can. Turns out that both of us have decided that Discord is difficult. Is the best way that I can put.
Old man yells at cloud.
Old man yells at cloud. Yeah, it's all for the new kids who are, you know, just as old as we are. Yeah. So yeah,
go ahead and get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Okay, so she needs the role now too.
Well, so let me go ahead and talk about the overall topics here. So, you know, a lot of you all contributed to the feedback survey that we did, which was awesome, as well as obviously contributing to the tournament. Maybe, I guess, to start off, before we get at least in here, maybe if we could just do some quick intros of like what your involvement was in the tournament, what you thought it was going to be at the outset, and then what it ended up being. I don't know, maybe Jess, would you like to start?
Yeah, I don't know. What was my involvement? Hard to put a label on it. Mostly what I feel like I did is just lend ideas that I had about how things should go. I don't think I did a lot of the groundwork. I mean, I helped with the registration process and everything, and helped Dan with organizing the tournament. I don't know. I was involved a little bit with everything and not a lot with anything.
Awesome. And then Rosalinda, you were, from what I hear, incredibly involved, and I was probably on the opposite side of the venue most of the time that was happening, but I saw you running around as well. I guess what did your tournament look like?
Yeah, I helped you guys with the TO part of the tournament, and as a volunteer, it was really awesome to be able to do that. I've actually never had to TO in a tournament before, so this is like my first experience actually TOing and volunteering for any national tournament. Been to like a couple of them, but this would be my first time actually volunteering, and it was awesome. I had a great time. It was I think I was on the third cab that you guys had, or cab number 3, which was right in the middle of the venue, and lots of foot traffic, definitely.
Yeah, Jason was on it a lot.
Yeah. I don't remember who was the stream tech at the time, but we definitely tried to keep it running and tried to just keep it going. It was fun.
Cool. I guess, and you were planning on being involved in the TOing at the outset. I guess, what did you talk about? Any kind of difference of expectations versus reality in how that panned out?
Yeah, so I think expectation, I definitely thought that we were going to be just kind of not necessarily interacting much with players or anything. I just thought maybe it would be something super simple to do, like just kind of oversee. But obviously, we're in such a competitive setting that like people are super involved, right? And they want your TO there. They want the TO to be paying attention and just be like totally involved. And it was great to be able. The reality was total communication with every single player that stepped on the cab, and just getting along with your stream tech, making sure that we were both on the same page of like what team was next, who was going to play next, and being able to communicate with your stream tech to make sure that like we had the same, because sometimes it was a little confusing, like who's playing next, who's next on the cab or whatever. And it got confusing because there were so many cabs and multiple teams were playing on multiple cabs. So just streamlining that was difficult. So in reality, it was a little I guess the communication depended on the stream tech and the TO at the time to just kind of keep it going. And so that was mainly the reality of it. I was like, okay, well, this is going to be a challenge, right? Who's next on the cab, and making sure that you're keeping up with who was next on the bracket, like making sure that you knew exactly who was next on the bracket and who was playing who.
For sure. Jess, were you doing TOing as well during the tournament, or like for any specific cab?
Did sort of step into the TO role on cab 1 for a moment, but there wasn't any player interaction on my end. I was mainly just making sure that the scores were entered properly. I was setting up on all 5 of the computers the ability for the TOs to enter the scores at the end of the sets, and just taking over that until someone else could step into it. But none of the like solving dispute stuff, no.
For sure. I mean, I didn't hear that there was a lot of disputes.
Yeah, I didn't think there were any actual disputes. Did anyone hear of anything?
The very first match, I believe.
Of course.
The very first match, there was no sound on the cab, and so immediately a team was saying, you know, we really need sound on the cab, and that was something that was brought up. And so I was like, okay, who's gonna help us with that? Like, I have no idea. So everyone was like, where's Felix? I was like, okay, we gotta get somebody's attention.
The theme of any tournament, where's Felix?
I do have a question about like sound on cabs. Is it really like that necessary to have sound on cabs, or is that just a like,
Yeah.
Okay.
To be honest, like
A lot of people use sound cues. I mean, it's not as important in Killer Queen as it is like say in like Overwatch, but like you can know if like a speed is forming from a gate without having to look, you know. I think for a lot of people it's really important.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
think it is important.
There was a
honestly-
dispute. There was a dispute between SFAF and the New York team, actually, when we were down 2-1, and it was game 4 about who got to pick the next map. And they called TO Elise over, and she was like, I read all the rules. I memorized all the rules. I'm here to quote them at you. Very impressive.
Actually, Elise is here with us now.
Welcome.
Welcome. Tell us about your tournament experience and about this 2-1 dispute.
Yeah, in particular, like the expectations versus reality, especially of the volunteering piece. We kind of walked through that with Jess and Rosalinda.
Well, I was only supposed to volunteer for an hour on Sunday. I was supposed to do Cab 1 TO from I think 12 to 1 and then be done. I ended up TOing Cab 1, a little bit of Cab 2, because Nikki D stepped in and helped out. He's in here. He stepped in and helped out with Cab 2 for a little bit. I commentated on Cab 1 and then had to basically like when the SF players were playing, I had to get everybody else to their cabs and try to figure that out and try to line up who's going to be like on cab 1 for commentary. So I was only supposed to TO for an hour. I ended up doing that for most of the day. I was a little bummed I didn't get to hang out with my KQB teammates who came. So I was a little sad about that. But it happens. It takes a lot of work to run a tournament. I get that. And it's also, I think, really hard to run a tournament when you're seen as very good at the game. And so when pretty much like everybody from San Francisco made it to double elimination, it felt like maybe one team didn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep track of what was happening in the actual tournament bracket itself.
So this is actually a bit of oversight on my part. So I made the schedules for day 1 and day 2, and they were very conservative. They were based off of the initial seeding for the most part, and like my projections about where everyone would end up. And I was really relying on Gino's team to not make double elimination. Rip. And it turns out that they made it. In fact, they like resoundingly did like incredibly well. And
they whipped our butt.
That kind of presented challenges. I think the lack of knowing where teams are going to go up and down, and it made it, I think, very difficult to even in hindsight. I'm thinking like, how could we have organized TOs and stream techs, and like it's hard to know because you don't know how the teams are going to go up and down to different groups. I think the player experience, it seemed like, in the themes that we got from the feedback was like really positive on the power pools and the kind of up down ladder type pool structure we had with the 3 rounds of pools. But geez, if we did it again, I don't know like how we would make the organizational piece of that work, given that people may be busy or not in different rounds, and if their team goes up or down. I'm curious if people have thoughts or perspectives on that piece.
So this was Jeff's first arcade tournament ever. He comes from a Melee background, so he's not he's not new to competitive esports gaming, but he was shocked that the TOs were playing in the tournament. He was like, when we got there and we were going over that, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to TO. He was like really, really surprised because you're not allowed to do that in Melee. If you want to play in the tournament, you're not allowed to TO. But on the flip side, they pay their TOs at the same time. He's giving me one of these in the background, but do you want to?
I mean, if he wants to hop on,
special guest.
I mean,
I know he'll be on later. He'll be on later, talk about stream stuff, but he like has a good amount of experience he's been like playing Melee for over a decade competitively. So, and they do it really differently than us.
I don't know.
Can you guys hear him?
Yeah,
we can hear Jeff.
So it's like the head TOs are not allowed to enter a tournament in Smash. So like, I don't know. There's like, for a big Smash tournament, there's probably like 5 main staff, and they don't enter the tournament. There are like pool captains, which are basically like what our volunteer TOs were doing, and they are allowed to enter the tournament, but they captain a pool that's at a different time slot than they're playing. So no matter what, like the head TOs are always going to be somewhat available because they can't actually play. So they're all of their time is free. But yeah, like Elise said, they do tend to make money off of events. So yeah.
Got it. So, I mean, for our approach, it's like there were no one had buys for an entire round because every pool was active. I don't know. Maybe there's an approach we could take where like certain pools will have a buy. I don't know. I'm just trying to like.
I think Wildcard ran really smoothly. I think Wildcard had that concept where it was you TO'd when you weren't in your pool. It also just like on the second day, like TOs that were like assigned to show up like weren't in, and they just like never showed up. Like I know on Jeff's cab, he was stream tech. His TO never showed up, and he doesn't play arcade, so he doesn't know how to TO. So he ended up having to TO, I think, cab 4 for like the entire day, which was a little stressful from my understanding from our discussions. But
I think the other thing that I noticed about especially Killer Queen is that like the willingness of top players to sort of give back to it. So like all of our TOs are pulled from the pool. Pretty much all of our TOs and stream techs were pulled from the pool of people who would end up in double elimination.
Yeah.
So that made availability.
It was like JC Haley and I were like, I think the three who got out fairly early. So we're all three scene moms, so we get it, we understand it. We're like more than happy to help. That's like completely fine. No complaints there. But I think the three of us, like the second day, ended up doing a lot because we were the only like three people who didn't make it either into double elimination or, you know, were like around to be able to help with TOing. Because I think Haley even like JC was super helpful to me, but Haley like even jumped around. She was supposed to be doing Cab 3 for a while, then Cab 3 ended. She went and like TO'd I think Cab 2 for like the second half of the day on Sunday. So.
And yeah, I originally had Brian Lee like doing like 6 different things for like 4 hours, and it was like the only reason I was able to do that was because he was, you know, he's Brian Lee. He could.
Wasn't he like pulling a triple already or something?
Yeah, he was definitely pulling like 3 or 4 different things at once. But yeah, even you know, Brian can only be in so many places. All right, so we're also joined by Nick, who is technically in the next segment, but is also a TO, and Dan, who is one of the obviously we all know Dan. He's one of the planners. He's our scene mom ish, I think. Anyway, I don't actually know.
And really pushed for this format with power pools, which a lot of people had talked about it. I certainly was one of them, but Dan and Jess actually kind of pushing to make it happen and figure out an approach there. I thought was really great to see. I think I don't know. It seems like in the thematic feedback we got that like people really liked the format, but the format made it really hard to operationally plan for roles. And it's like, what are the main takeaways we can get from this to still continue to be able to run this type of a format more sustainably? I really would like to kind of dig into that a bit.
It's interesting that you guys as a scene are playing in the tournament and also running the tournament. That's very interesting because all of you guys from San Francisco were playing, and that's something that like, you know, we think about all the time, obviously with other scenes who are wanting to plan tournaments. You know, should we have designated people who don't play in the tournament, or how do we go about doing that, you know? And that was very interesting, and especially since Killer Queen is such a community run type of niche gameplay that we do. It's like it's all community run, and you know, the thought of paying someone that is like, why do we need to do that when we have all of these people who are going to come, you know? And so, but I think it is something that maybe people should consider, is maybe not paying, but maybe certain people are designated to organize tournaments, and that's what they do, you know, that's their role as an organizer. And you sit this one out, you know, you do it for the scene, right? But at the same time, like, who wants to do that? So it is something that I think should be discussed for sure.
So I did.
No.
So I did sit out for GDC 3, or tried to, and then someone like wrote me in at the last second. But like, I have thought a lot about.
Were you on Brian Lee's team?
No, I was on. That was GDC 4. GDC 3.
Right.
I was on a combination of like some Phoenix people. Oh, it was Jeff, Tony, Kia, and a couple other people, and it was Point is Sam, obviously, who is also here. But yeah, like I've thought a lot about like just how do we like divorce this like tournament organization and like player sort of roles, because like playing in a tournament you're organizing is really hard, and like it's really hard on the team you're a part of, and you like can tend to underperform, and like, you know, you're making a lot of people happy, but like you're definitely letting I felt like I was letting my team down.
Alex, what can you imagine being different about like just this thing we just did that would have given you a little more space? Like what you know, imagine whatever it takes, but what would have made it meaningfully different?
It is difficult to say because I've never truly managed to divorce like tournament play from like a tournament organization. But yeah, if I really wanted to do well, I think I'd have to step off tournament organization completely. Like that is the big thing.
Do you think you could even do that, Felix? Like, no, seriously. Like, do you think you could just sit back and be like, I'm not helping with cab maintenance this tournament. Sorry.
I feel like I've tried a number of times, and
Okay.
but honestly, like I don't like. Honestly, I don't think it's much like of something that like it's something to think about, but not like something that we should like spend too much time like
Yeah.
on, I think. What I do want to get to is like so Dan and Jess like back in June really pushed for GDC to kind of like happen, right? I remember I was a little bit more of a holdout. D-Ray, I think you were for it. I don't actually remember.
Yeah.
So like, but like we had like very specific goals in mind for this particular tournament. Like, and it wasn't just the normal like double limb and like people get prizes, but like I wonder if Dan and Jess could both like talk a little bit about like what their goals were for like GDC 5 and why this particular tournament was like so important to us that it had to like that they were pushing so hard for it.
Interesting comments in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should talk
about that. I guess I'll start. I think, yeah, we pushed for it pretty early. I think there were probably two big things happening there. One is that like quarantine and coronavirus was starting to turn a corner around this time, and vaccines were becoming pretty proven in like the baseline data. It seems like they work pretty well. Like that was one side of it, right? Was that, we're looking at, what, why do we want to run a tournament right now? Why would we push, why would we announce really early that we're going to redo the tournament that we canceled last year, which is the other reason, right? Our tournament got canceled at the last minute. We went through like a lot of, let's call it emotional labor to come to the decision that, thank goodness we did. I'm really proud of us for getting there. Like a lot of like emotional leadership and like factual leadership from a lot of different people to make sure we did the right thing, and we did. But also, God damn it, it got taken away. We were so ready. We were going to do this dope thing. And the plan had been for that GDC also to kind of figure out, to put on as good an event from as many people's perspectives that will, kind of, hold up in the future as like a model of a good event and what an event can be. That had been the plan going into it when coronavirus canceled the first version of this, right? And so carrying that forward a little bit in the moment of quarantine looking like it might be turning a corner, we kind of felt like there was this additional benefit of announcing a tournament that like of us like taking a big step towards figuring out what Killer Queen in a post-pandemic world looks like, right? And I think that early on in this year, people were not like really in that place by and large yet. Because, we just spent a year in lockdown, right? And it's very hard to think about how you're going to feel after 6 months of the total unknown. And right now you're pretty sure how you feel, right? So that was going on for everybody earlier in the year. And I think announcing this tournament as it's still being just as big a bash with the same big vision as last time for a point far enough in the future that we kind of felt pretty comfortable that we could do all of the organization required, and that history would prove out that there's space for this kind of thing in our hearts to be had once in the we felt like that was an important part of it as well. So with that in mind, commit to 5 cabs without an idea of exactly how you'll pull it off. Figure out the details as you go with the group of people who all, gets up to, figure out what Killer Queen looks like in the post-pandemic world, because everybody's really invested in there being some Killer Queen in that post-pandemic world. That's how it came together, right? I think that there's a shared desire here to negotiate how this stays a part of our lives in the long term, and a group of people got together to kind of express that vision. So here we are.
So power pools in particular was like one of the things that we had talked about. So why power pools? What's the goal of like the format that we had this time around?
The primary goal is to give an equivalently competitive experience to every team top to bottom. Traditionally, I think the time constraints that people are forced into in running tournaments, and a natural desire to maximize around the best Killer Queen being played when resources are constrained, has led to sometimes things not being as fun if you're a team on the bubble. You don't get, you get a single elim in wild card, you get stomped on by teams that really isn't a fun experience for anybody. And the overall experience pays the price. And I think that power pools were a way to make sure that on the Saturday, which from my perspective at least is most valuable, is an opportunity for your team to practice together for real at like real competitive against real competition. A lot of people don't get that before tournament day, even if they are practicing, right? So Saturday really has a lot of value to your team, and giving the best quality games is both the most fun, the best for practice, and sets everybody up to be their best player on day two. I think power pools gives everybody equivalent access to that.
Cool. So that makes sense. And one of the knobs that I think we have under our control is to try to make it more sustainable and compatible with like the organizational, like operational day of pieces is actually the schedule itself and the cab utilization. I think we made each pool tied to a cab, which had, I think, a lot of benefits from the production perspective, but it meant that you never got like a bye. There was never a period of time where you're not on standby to play at any moment. And, Dan, you asked what, for Felix, what would have made this easier or better from for like the operational perspective. And to me, it's like, I would have been less stressed if I just knew, hey, for this hour, I can just focus on help fixing things. And I know that I'm not going to have to play. But I think to do that, you have to then figure out how to leverage all of the cabs, maybe multiple cabs for the same pool or something, so that half the pools are like on a buy for an hour or something. I don't know. I'm curious to kind of explore something along those lines, but
so
Jess also looks like has some thoughts.
Yeah. To be fair, you guys did get tied to cab 5 for like a lot of the day.
Yeah.
Which was
so that thing that happened to our team was only ever meant to happen to 20% of the teams in either of the two phases of the group phase. The group's phase. Anyway, that was Pool D in the first half and Pool C in the second half. So 80% of the teams actually did have 2 hour and a half slots where they had a break. We would have done that with 100% of the teams, but we really wanted to maximize efficiency of cab usage. So there had to be like a 20% chunk of teams that got a little bit, I don't know, some people probably think of it as a booby prize. Some people probably don't, of like having your games more spread out rather than clumped up and then you're done. But yeah, I'm sorry we ended up in that group, partially at fault there. But I think we did close to the best we could do for giving people little slots where they were off.
Cool, yeah, and that's my own myopia, right? Like I said, I saw a sliver, of how this whole thing worked, and I think I'm excited about the opportunity here to just like share knowledge and like figure out what different perspectives people had and experiences people had.
So I'm interested in like Elise and Rosalinda's perspective. They both went to this double limb wild card after a full day of groups, and it was wild. Wild card was, I mean, you guys also ended up there, but it's like wild card was I felt like it was a really cool experience, like a double limb wildcard. I don't know how you guys, what your guys' feelings were about the whole thing.
I loved it. It was awesome. I think for my first tournament coming back, after quarantine, it was the first tournament that I was able to compete in, and it was awesome. It was awesome to compete against teams that were in our same playing level, that that pool, the power pool was really awesome to be able to compete against teams that were, according to whoever seated us that way, then our same level of competitiveness, right? And so to be able to get competitive games like that, we're never, like, in Dallas, we're not going to get competitive games like that for a while. So Eduardo and I loved it, right? We love getting wrecked on. It's our favorite thing to do ever. We love learning, we love playing, and so being able to go through that and then be there all day, go into that wild card it's awesome. It's awesome to play competitively, and it was an experience I think that we needed as a scene, because running a tournament is one thing, watching you guys run the tournament, learning from that, learning scene mom wise, Eduardo and I have scene mommed Dallas for years now, going on 3 years, and being able to grow not only as a team but as people who are leaders in the scene is also great for us. So yeah, it was an all-around good experience. I enjoyed it. I would do it again. I think the main thing that I feel was interesting to see is, how we were kind of, I think time management was the thing, and I think it's always going to be like that in any tournament, time management, and how knowing what was next, and how we were kind of scrambling as a TO, a little bit of like, oh, so and so's team's next, and then kind of just not knowing where to go next. Maybe a clear, and that I think that comes with, not, like, Felix said, not knowing exactly the outcomes of what's going to happen in the end, like whose team's going to advance, any of that. So, or who's available to play at this moment, for pools, especially since we were kind of in between two cabs in that pool, and the A pool, I believe, is the first one that I TO'd. Going back in between cab 3 and cab 4 and kind of not knowing what was coming next, or where we were going to go next. And so that was the main thing. I think it was Nick and I on that third cab, and I was like, do you know what's going on? And he was like, no.
It was easier. It was like easier to share the list between your like partner cab and you, because Ian and I ended up doing that in pools too, and that like worked out way better than trying to like follow the schedule, because it's like because some games are over in like 2 minutes, some are like 15 minutes. So that actually worked out really well, like having like a cab buddy, and you just like were like, okay, these teams are free, they're on my cab, I can't do it, so you should take them right now. I thought that worked out really well.
I totally agree with that, and I can't do that, no. But another thing that I wanted to throw out there, definitely having somebody that you knew, like TOing the cab next to you, was like really helpful. But another part of it was that I think that, and like time allotments are never going to be accurate, right? Like I think that the time estimate for how long each group would take was underestimated, but like that's always going to happen. What I think was caused some like a little bit of chaos was I was specifically told that if you have an open spot on your cabinet and your next team can't do it because they're already, your next match is already, somebody's taken, to just like find a pairing, like a match that you think hasn't happened yet, and throw that on your cabinet, which like was a little stressful, just in that like I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know who was playing like on any, and it was helpful, when some matches were on the cab next to you and you could just communicate with that person. But it was a little bit like, it felt stressful to be expected to like know who had played or who was playing currently and all that stuff. And so I did kind of think that it might be helpful, because we're already breaking it into pools, right? at some level to like have like an automated like, which it's kind of hard to expect last minute, but like we had like lists that on paper that we were crossing names out, but if that was all online, then you could see what matches at least had already happened, if not already going on.
That did happen the second day. I think we because you obviously made it pretty far in double elimination, but by the beginning of the second day, JC was actually really good about making sure this was happening. But TOs would go into Smash and press like start match, and then when I was trying to assign teams to cabs over at cab 1, I could see, okay, this team has started, this one hasn't, so I know they need to go next. I'm going to send them over to Haley, who's free right now. So that was like being able to see the time lapse in Smash GG online was like super helpful the second day. I don't know if we did that really the first day though.
Yes.
I definitely don't remember, and I think that would have been really helpful.
The second day was really good though.
Yeah. So that is actually the prescribed way to use Smash GG is the start match button, which is buried underneath like 3 layers of UI, which is awful. Like if you actually don't click start match, you will not actually finish the bracket at any point. So you like, it's really bad to not hit start match. And
we figured it out. I think second day though had it going. I think also like knowing whether the stream tech, if you had a stream tech, if they were going to do it, if the TO was going to do it, like making sure there's just communication about like who's going to be the one to like press the button at the end. Because like I had to go have like show Jeff how to do it because he didn't like nobody had explained it to him because he was stream teching and TOing.
Yeah. Next time, so one piece of feedback that we did get a lot was orientation for like the various roles. We didn't have enough time on. It's not that we didn't have enough time to do it. It's we didn't have enough time to plan it, and so next time definitely that is on the list of things that we will know, which is like definitely like orientation for like how to use Smash GG if we use Smash again. Definitely like how to handle the stream because OBS is complicated.
Yeah, like one pagers really of like if this goes wrong, you do try these things, don't try these things.
Yeah.
You know, for all of these different roles, I think was something we talked about having and just like ran out of time.
That's like above and beyond those stuff, but I think that does alleviate a lot of stuff we talked about earlier, like with you feeling like you can like compete and perform, Felix, because then everybody isn't like grabbing you for stuff, you know.
So
I just really quick want to throw out that like if that happens, which I think is great, like orientation's awesome and also maybe a little over hopeful. But if it does happen, that like stream TOs, the stream techs should probably also be taught how to TO and vice versa because you never want to see it happen, but so frequently it happens that one of those roles gets co-opted into doing both.
Yeah.
I did have one pager, and they were written out, and I linked them with the initial Discord post, but I have a feeling that the links got lost. In which case, actually printing them out for each station might be very useful.
Yeah, that's I guess what I was
physical copies might be actually very useful.
All I'm saying is I'm glad that nothing horrible happened on Jeff's cab while he's TOing because he is not afraid to mention quite often how whack our TOing process is in Arcade. He's like, wait, you guys just like freeze the game and everyone throws their hands up and you like restart maps?
Okay, to be fair, that was Chicago who started that. Chicago started that.
That was not Chicago who started that. That was not Chicago who started that.
We were watching Cactus Clash like when we started dating and he was like, what is going on? He's like, this is the most stupid thing I've ever seen. You don't do this in any other fighting game. All right.
Wait. So Nikki says it wasn't Chicago who started it.
It was in Chicago, but it was not a Chicago team that started that. I'll have you know.
Okay, that is fair. That is fair. It happened at Chicago.
And they all just stopped. So what were we supposed to do? Just tell the other team to keep playing? Like, of course we're going to stop, you know?
No, it's fair. It's fair.
It's ridiculous.
Before we get too far away from it, I think there was a question earlier about how the wild card bracket was, and I want to get back to that before it gets dropped and sort of keep us on track here. And I'll probably sign off after this so that I can make room for someone else to hop in. But I do want to talk about that wild card in case anyone is watching this stream and thinking, what should I think about when I'm planning my tournament and like my structure? The reason we ended up with a double elimination wild card is, like Dan said, we were trying to create a tournament experience that was optimized for everyone. And our initial thinking was that for players who aren't in the top tier, strongest at Killer Queen, what they would want most would be to be eliminated on Saturday so that I could party and not worry about being up early on Sunday. So like we sort of like tried to squeeze in more of the tournament into Saturday and getting people kind of like done with it so that they could just party. And then we got some feedback that was like, I don't want that. And we kind of noticed at that point in the planning process that like nobody who's sort of in that half of the tournament pool is in the room having this conversation right now. So I reached out to 4 or 5 people who were like, I was like, hey, you probably aren't going to win this tournament, right? That's fine. But let's talk about what you would want. Like maybe you're not going to make it or you're going to get into wild card. What kind of experience do you want? What are your priorities? And we offered a few different things. We offered like, is it a priority for you to get to play both days? Do you want Sunday games? Is it a priority for you for the wild card bracket to be like really a more full experience, just like the knockout bracket is? Is it a priority for you to get lots of equal games? I don't remember what the other things I listed out, but basically the answers that I got back were unanimous. Like everyone just wanted like a really fleshed out, like full double elimination bracket experience. And that's how we ended up with that on Saturday night. I didn't expect to be in it, but that happened. And that was also cool experience as a player. That went really well. It was a great, great bracket. And it felt just as real as the bracket we had on Sunday. And I hope it felt like that for everyone, like who was in any part of it, because I'm really glad that we asked that question. I'm glad that we got that feedback. And I think it felt good. I'd love to know your perspective, Elise, just as a player in that part of it. But I think
I'm probably the only one here that was like actually like true, like knew we were going to be out in our first like wild card game or second one, whether it was going to be both. I was very happy with it. My team was very happy with it. I was actually someone who was like pretty upset in the beginning because I knew going into this, my team was like very, very, very likely to be seeded last. That's totally fine. You know, none of the warriors or workers on the team play arcade. I think Jeff has played like maybe like 5 times now total. And then I obviously don't queen. So I knew we were not going to be a good team, but we were just here to have fun, get some games. Hopefully the guys would have good experience with arcade. And they're competitors. They're all really good at KQB. And so when it originally was going to be just single and for wild card, I was like, we're going to get one set and then we're going to be out. And like that kind of stinks because I knew that they were going to need some more time to keep playing. And I wanted them to feel like they were as prioritized as like the top tier teams, even though we weren't going to win, just that they would be able to have kind of a little bit of a similar experience. And we had a great time in wild card. We actually ended up wild card our first set. We ended up taking a map off of Blue Chris's team, which we had not done in pool. So we were like stoked about that. And then we almost reverse swept the other KQB team. So that was like, everyone was like really stoked and hype on that. So we had like a great time in wild card. And our team loved power pools, loved wild card. I think playing wise, it was like perfect. I don't think it could have been improved for the boys anymore.
Nice.
Awesome. Really happy to hear that.
That is awesome to hear. I know some people like in Dallas were, you know, when we first were like, hey, GDC is happening, like we're going to go to San Francisco. We should take some teams. A lot of people were like, oh, we don't want to go. We're just going to get, wrecked on. Like, we don't want to go and lose. And I love hearing that from you, Elise, because like that's how I want people to go to tournaments, to have a good time, know that, and of course, to the organizers, like it is good that the power pools were done this way and that wild card was done the way it was, because in the end, we all want people to have great experiences. And like, people who haven't traveled in our scene want to go to tournaments all around the nation and want to have that same experience. And they want to be able to play in a wild card and it be fun like that and, get some competitiveness out of it. So yeah, it was very enjoyable.
All right,
Cool.
I'm gonna write you out. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Jess.
Thank you.
All right, Jess,
And
thank you.
thanks to Nick, come back. No, Nick is still here. Okay, Nick stays.
Still here. Still here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you, Rosalinda. Thank you, Dan. We will rotate you out, and hopefully you guys can come back in a bit.
But maybe before that, we haven't heard really at all, I think, from Nick, other than rebuffing the Chicago.
Nick is staying for the
And the
next
history straight.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess we'll keep you on.
We'll keep Nick on.
Great.
It's fine.
Yeah, thanks for having me,
I was
guys.
trying to make sure we
Bye.
didn't leave you. All right.
Nick,
Cheers,
stay
y'all.
on. Thanks. Bye, guys. We'll see you all in a bit.
All right. So while we wait for a few other folks to join for this next segment, maybe we can just talk about the general tenor of it. So, we just talked about the general format, tournament experience, planning. I think for this next segment, we have 3. This one's going to focus a bit more on the setup and cab tech pieces. How do we? I think for this next segment, we have 3.
Ash, we can hear an echo, by the way.
Yeah, you got that. I'm triggered.
Everywhere.
Oh God, no. So this is definitely, this next part is going to focus. Yeah. So like D-Ray was saying, this is a little more technical. This is like the experience of working on 5 cabs and sort of setting up 5 cabs and like how it was to sort of just like be running around and setting up streams and like having to deal with problems all day.
Yeah.
Like,
and to be clear, our third segment's going to focus more on the stream tech portion. So here, I mean, more like the hardware and then the setup at the outset, really, and kind of just like getting settled and ready for the day, and then handling the cab issues. And we can talk more about, I think, some of the like production stream output, assets in our third segment. Well, I think some people will carry over, like Tyler, but. I guess starting off there, I mean, themes, we asked people for a lot of feedback around this, consolidated some of the themes from that feedback. But maybe just to start things off, can we do just quick intros? What did you expect to do at the tournament? What did you actually do? Ash, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. And you're not echoing.
Yeah, more importantly, I can't hear myself.
You have the best audio I've heard yet.
Yeah, so I'm Ash. I'm with the SF scene. I sort of was expecting to hop in and just help out a little bit with TO, stream tech, all that stuff. I kind of got involved a little bit more as I was working on some of the stuff and started discussing things with the venue owner and all that. So, I definitely have a perspective on everything that went down, for sure. But first and foremost, I want to take a moment to congratulate everybody involved in this project because in my view, I believe the event was a great success. All the attendees that I interacted with had a great time. The venue owner after the fact was super elated about how it went down and just like all the business that he got out of it, and definitely gave me the sense that he was excited about hosting something like this in the future. So that's a huge win, especially when it's something that's put on by a bunch of volunteers and just community people. So hats off to everybody involved there, right? So beyond that, I can go into sort of a list of things that I think could be beneficial and to implement in future productions here. So I don't know if we wanted to introduce other people first, or I can just go through mine.
Yeah. Let's roll through the intros, and then we can get into some of those because we consolidated some of the feedback into themes too. So I think there'll be ample opportunity there. Maybe Nick, you want to take it next?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Nick. I live in Chicago, but I did spend a lot of time in San Francisco in 2019, so I feel like I'm part of that
Honorary scene.
What did I expect to do was, well, I signed up for all the volunteer things. So
Yes, you did.
I expected to do whichever one had the most fires to put out, which ended up being Cab Tech, TO, and Stream Tech. Not that they weren't fires. It was fine. There was no fires. And I ended up, I think, doing stream tech and cab tech the most, and then filling in for TO a pretty good amount. Yeah, even at one point, I feel like I was taking over TO for cab 1 and 2, and I feel like I was TOing for both of them because there was a problem on. I was looking at cab 2, and there's a problem on cab 1, and there's apparently no TO over there, so I just jumped over there and did stuff. And then I fixed did the cab tech for it too. That's great. Anyway, I honestly, just like real quick, my opinion on. Well, no, we'll move on.
Okay. So
because
Tyler,
it's going to be really quick.
So Tyler, I know you were more signed up to be stream tech stuff, but you were definitely like a big help on both day 0 and day 1 and day 2, honestly. Like just troubleshooting like a whole bunch of stream issues.
Yeah. I also signed up for cab tech and TO, and I'm thankful that I didn't do either of those because those are kind of thankless jobs. No, not thankless. That's not the right word, but they're more work than I guess stream tech for me. I guess I'm more comfortable with that. So yeah, I did help get streams sort of set up on the day of the groups, and I ran stream tech on the second cab for a few of the shifts, and I think that ended up going fairly well.
Cool. All right, so before we get into all the feedback, let's talk a little bit about like how much stuff it took to like actually like we bought a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Like there's like way more cables than I thought we would need.
Yeah.
A lot of power. Like we borrowed at least one piece of stream equipment, which I need to tell Nikki what we did to it. And yeah, so like yeah. Ian's
what did you do?
Ian's looking at me, but no, like there was just a lot of stuff, and like I don't know, like I know Ash had like a diagram for like what like the setup would look like. I'm curious, like what you guys thought about like each of the setups. Were they bare bones? Were they enough? Like, would you like to have seen more stuff on attached to things? Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I could start. I think I think one of the big challenges here was that we were working with several different pieces of hardware for each of the stream setups. And that's always a difficulty there, right? Because you got to organize people and let them know, okay, if you're on this cabinet, you got to know about these pieces of hardware or like this particular behavior in this instance, right? So that makes it a little difficult to keep it smooth from a a technical perspective, or at least from somebody supporting that in a technical perspective. So I think moving forward, trying to sort of land on a single solution, or I know sometimes you can't always get like the same thing for all across the board for all of them, but as much as possible, trying to make that happen, I think would be super beneficial there.
Yeah, totally agreed on that front. Just to really quickly run through the overall setup. So we had 3 Windows machines, 1 Mac, and one Linux, right?
Yeah.
And then the capture cards were different. I think we had maybe 2.
That's pretty normal.
We cobbled together whatever we could, basically, and like
a lot of different permutations. And we had it all in a big spreadsheet and tried to standardize, and at least a lot of the cables and hubs and stuff were similar. But I think just want to run through just to be clear what our overall kind of mix of setups were. Any other I guess thoughts on Felix's question though? The overall
was stuck in a corner, but that's fine.
Well, so what did you like? Was there any like particular setup that was harder or easier than any of the others? If you guys like had experiences on multiple cabs, or do you guys mostly stay on the same cab?
I
stayed
pretty
on
much only
KTech.
stuck on 2.
I was on 3.
I heard 5 was maybe iffy, and 4 was definitely iffy on the second day. But
3
there
was
was a
iffy on the
hardware
first
issue,
day.
and I don't know if that would have really.
Five
I think
was,
from what I understand from 4, that's not something like a stream tech was gonna just fix.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the graphics card dying is.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's not just like, oh, why didn't you have fix the graphics card in the one pager, Felix? Like,
yeah.
I probably like the one pager was definitely for golden path scenario like errors, and not like oh hey, like our hardware setup just died.
4 was our detour, our normal tried and true streaming setup that we've been using for years and years and years, and geez, just it totally kicked the bucket, you know.
I was gonna say Carlos here from DFW. Sorry,
Hi, Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Welcome.
Yeah, I was on 4 the first day for the first like couple hours, and it worked. It worked good. I remember at one point, D-Ray came over to me. I was like, "Any issues?" And I was like, "No, all good." You know, I was checking on my phone even to make sure everything was like running on actual Twitch. And he was like, "Oh, great! The only one that doesn't have issues." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I think that just cursed it, maybe. And it was like,
This is why we never attempt fate.
Spoke too soon.
Spoke too soon. Yeah, and so the other question I have about working on these things, so obviously like, so when I got my spreadsheet of like volunteers for Cab Tech, I like basically went and bolded every name that I saw that was basically like this person has worked a major tournament with like more than 3 cabs. It's like, and these are the people I definitely trust. And then there's sort of the unknown people that like I trust, but like I haven't actually like seen them work. So like, I guess my question here is, what did you guys think overall of just working on the cabs? Like, were there any major issues? Was there anything that you guys hadn't seen before? Like, any fun experiences to share?
well, I'm sure Nick's gonna talk about it too on Cap
Yes.
2 when we
Cap
had
1?
to switch out a joystick, or was it Cap 1 or Cap 2?
It was
The
Cap
main
1.
Cap, or Stream 1, but I think it was Cap 2, right, or whatever. But the main one that we're playing on.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
My
with
bad.
the big projector. So you can talk about that.
No, you too. Dude, it was fun.
Oh no, what happened?
Basically, during when Salad was playing SFAF, we had a glancing issue on a joystick, and it was really bad. So Nick started repairing it, and then when we got it all hooked back up, it wasn't working. It was only going left. With the new stick, was only going left now. I was like, well, it's not glancing, but you can't go right. Then we looked down at the old joystick, and the metal terminal is stuck to it and has been ripped off of the wire. Like it came out of the casing. Yeah.
I tore the terminal off of the wire that was still stuck to the old switch, and I was like, God, I don't want to crimp a new terminal we're like on the Twitch front page, like trying to like get the stuff done.
Wait, this is this cab, right? The one right behind us.
Gold checks.
no.
Gold checks.
Yeah, you be careful with that one.
It also only has 3 screws into the stick. The 4th one is I put it on the Gold Queen.
Because we didn't want to touch it.
It was the bad one.
Terminal was not there, but there was still metal. So Brian Lee just shoved it on so that it was touching, but it's not like the terminal is not connected because there's no terminal. So it's the wire's there.
It really hard.
So we didn't want to touch the wire, so we didn't want to bolt that last bolt down because we didn't want to move it because it was working, you know.
Right,
how close were we to like never discovering this? We almost didn't have a retrospective.
I mean, Brian Lee knows.
That was like the one piece of equipment you guys didn't have too, was like more terminals to crimp on there. I looked through the bag. I like dug through all the wires and shit, and you only had the snake cable terminal
Yeah.
connector. So
Yeah, the only
is,
one for all like the sound wires into the back of it and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure I buy some Wolex connectors for next time.
Felix, our cab in
that's
Phoenix is
solvable.
still jacked up
Yeah,
from that
it's
one
still,
time. Our Gold Queen
it's
still
still
doesn't go up.
still doesn't go.
I mean,
Yeah, because we removed that one wire.
CC1. CC1,
Yeah.
we had to do this weird. No, I say we. Felix did it all.
I
This
feel like
weird
if
like
we,
wiring thing, and
I feel
yeah,
like
Gold Queen
whenever
doesn't
we
go
ever
up
talk,
anymore. We've
I
always
feel
been
like
meaning to
whenever
like
we
we'll
talk
go
about
fix
weird,
it, but we just never have.
I feel like whenever I talk about weird shit in cabs, it's always invariably something that I did at some point.
It's like doing forensics on bomb design. It's
Yeah.
like you can. Oh, Felix has been here. You can tell by the way this wire is crimped.
But yeah, so actually this has been a really good experience in just refreshing like remembering all the shit we need for like cab maintenance. It's like,
yeah,
I had probably 100 switches and we went through like, I want to say like 40 of them like right away. I had
40? 40?
Yeah,
they did like full refreshes.
I
on
like
several
had
cabs.
I had like dumped out like the bag of switches at the end, and it was just like there were a lot of switches.
Yeah,
I
mean,
feel
we
like
did
a
full
switch is an
refreshes.
easy swap.
Yeah, switches are.
Yeah,
Switches
somebody
are
says
easy.
like this button's being weird. You just whatever, just flip the switch and get a new one in there.
Yeah, I mean, here in Dallas, that's what I do. Like, I mean, behind our primary cab, because we have two sets in our arcade, but behind the primary cab, there's just a wall of like clean buttons that I just like in case. I mean, I was supposed to teach people tonight how to switch out buttons because they all want to know because I have to take care of all the cabs. I have to update. I think we have 9 cabs in DFW spread around, and I have to be the one to update them. And if the other arcades have weird issues, I have to tell them what to do. But yeah, I always just like if a button's messing up and it's like, all right, I'm just putting something new in. Let's keep playing. I'll see if this switch is broken. If the button's sticky, whatever later.
Yeah,
we're-
chat thing. We definitely over replace switches, which makes sense.
Which
But
is
it's very I think we bias a little bit towards expediency. But the other interesting thing here, I think, what took a big dent out of those switches was that some of the cabs we saw for the first time Friday. Like, no real player had seen
cab
three of the cabs.
Yeah, cab 3, 4, and 5 were completely. So let's say they weren't in great shape. Is what I will say.
Yeah, and we couldn't even see. There's nothing you can do other than just plan to spend a lot of time once you get them. And I think that there were a lot of issues that came as a result of that. I think I certainly under anticipated the amount of time and effort that we would need to spend on just familiarizing ourselves with those cabs and their eccentricities in very limited time. But that's definitely like a red flag that I would keep track of moving forward with tournaments anytime. And it's one thing to take a cab from another site or another scene or something where it has been maintained, it has been used for stuff. These are like kind of out of the woodwork cabs. So I am interested.
We learned that lesson that out of the box cabs are not particularly tournament ready cabs from many tournaments. One in particular, BB3. But
so what can we do like as a set of cab techs? To like what are the sorts of things that we should be aiming to do to these cabs to make them tournament ready, like before anyone touches them?
And I know, Ash, you had a list of stuff. I don't know if any of the things are related to this, but definitely.
Yeah, there's some of them are relevant. I think just peripherally, like we can talk about whenever we need to do these repairs, having sort of central location where we store all the parts and components and tools and everything, I think would be super helpful. I know a lot of the stuff that we were working with, some of it was behind some cabs, some of it was over by the badge area. So just defining that area and that space beforehand, I think would be a really good idea and help streamline any of the repair process that needs to be happening.
I'll have a little basket with like spare parts.
Yeah, the amount of time that I spent just like running around, just
Tracking things
we
down,
all
yeah.
did, just to like go to this person, this thing over here. Maybe
Like
it's over
grab a
there.
screwdriver.
Yeah.
So much wasted time and
Yeah.
and stress.
I brought like a set of like keys for the back of the cab with me from like that I use here in Dallas. And then I remember me and D-Ray were like fixing Stream 5, like this, and we needed to open up the back. And I was like, oh, don't worry. He was going to go get keys. And I was just like, oh, don't worry. Here, I brought my keys from Dallas. They still open the back of them. So, I mean, like, and then Eduardo usually has his keys for the front of the cab on him. And they should also work on just about every KQ cab. So, like, that's just one of those things that.
Front cab keys will not. They're going to be different. Back cabs will be the same.
News to me.
Yeah, and I have
three and five
differences.
both had the one pick lock, the round ones. I don't know what those are called.
Yeah, I was going to say if the front cab key is the same, maybe we should keep that information. Oh no, free play turned off. Damn.
To be fair, you have access to that with the back cab, so it's not exactly.
Yeah, you gotta have a long arm.
Oh, I was talking grabbing those quarters out, but.
Oh no, that's a different key in general. There's another lock inside.
Yeah. The most secure thing inside of the cab are the remote controls for the TVs, which are inside of a bucket in the bottom compartment, but you can't access it from inside of the cab. Like, so we're missing the keys for those here. So like, I had to like use another remote for my TV upstairs and mess with these.
Hey, I didn't even know that.
Oh, that would be a thing too. Making sure remotes are at their cabs.
Yeah.
I know Nick and Brian messed with 3 for a while, or 4, I mean.
Yeah,
3, 4, and 5.
That was an audio issue that we didn't figure out, and when we were packing up the cabs, I realized what the problem was with the audios. When we did a reinstall of the software, sometimes you have to go into the settings menu and set the sound device to the proper
said that. I literally said that to you while we were doing it, and I thought you already did it.
No,
funny. Oh my god!
Next time we listen to Nikki because that's a big.
I said it to you one time, and you just like looked at it, and I was like, oh, he already did it. It's fine.
It must have just like.
Oh no!
One ear and out the other. I'm like, what is he talking about? Because I just totally forgot about.
Well, I mean, there's always going to be one cab that like, soaks up all the problems, and then
what I should be doing is on the Bumble Bear support website, I have a fucking script of like, if you have sound issues, you do this, and this, and I was just playing it by ear, and I should have learned from previous events that just go to the list that I made a long time ago. I have a checklist. And it's on the website, and it's public.
I've gone through that list, and it is helpful. But then I found out my issue was there's just a rip cords, so I had to like rewire my sound in one of the cabs here.
Yeah, that's what it always is. It's always a ripped cord, so that's what I assumed it was, and I went and did a hardware run trying to fix that, and it wasn't that. So.
Damn.
All right.
Yeah. Well, that stuff Friday, even though we first saw 3 of the cabs on Friday, I think we should have just said, sorry, y'all, can't play on cabs 3, 4, or 5. We need to like spend more time on them. Sean was wanting to make all the cabs available, but like, I wish we would have just said, y'all can use cabs 1 and 2 for another hour or 2 with these other ones. We start opening them one at a time.
Yeah.
Like that would have been, I think, much better and more like responsible approach for us.
And I don't think Sean wanted them ready to play. He just didn't want like things sprawled out on the floor during business hours. I think that would have been totally fine with him to decommission a cab for an hour at a time.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up one like kind of like macro thing about both cab tech and TOing, actually, which is like we always talk about like there's being the player and TOing, why isn't there people able to do it? And also, why is it so hard? Like I can tell you from recent experience, we have a new public cabinet in Chicago that isn't tournament ready. There's a bunch of buttons on it that are wonky, and the management came up to us because we'd been coming in a couple weeks, and they were like, "Hey, how do we get you guys to stay?" And I was like, "Literally, just make this a tournament ready cabinet, and I can tell you exactly what that means." So I sent them an email. I was like, "You need to fix these things on the cabinet." And they didn't fix it. A week later, and we came up to them. And we were like, and something was even worse. There was a worse broken button on it, and we were like, "Hey, I sent you an email. You're the one that started this conversation. You didn't fix it. We're leaving to go play at our other cabinet because we want to play. That's why we came out." And he's like, "Oh, the tech is here, actually." So I talked to the tech. He comes up, and he didn't want to talk to us at all. He didn't even want to learn. He didn't even know how to open the thing up. He didn't know how to fix it, is what I'm saying. So there's no, a lot of arcade techs in any place, you know, they know how to fix pinball machines, they know how to fix retro machines because they're everywhere. There's not a lot of Killer Queen machines, and it's only been around for however long, 7 or 8 years or whatever. Don't quote me on that, Brian.
Oh my God, has it been 8 years?
And they're all.
I'm saying that they're and there's a whole bunch of different generations of them. But my point is, my big macro point is here is that the people that know how to fix them are the players because they know how they're supposed to play, and the people that know how a tournament's supposed to go are the players because they've been in tournaments. And we don't have like a Wikipedia guide that we've, you know, we have like cobblestones of a few of them here and there all over the internet, like in Google Docs and Bumble Bear support ticket, and like there's all kinds of stuff. But the reason why we end up getting, you know, like are the ones like fixing the cabinet and playing on is because we're the only ones that know how it's supposed to be played, right? You know,
like imagine telling somebody like, "Hey, I'm glancing over here." Like, who's gonna know what that means? Like,
yeah, and also like knowing what the severity, like how severe of a glance is a like tournament stopping glance, rather than like, yes, like most joysticks glance at us in to a certain extent. Once they get wear and tear, they glance more over time, and then that's, you know, where do we draw the line on like what is like truly like tournament stopping glance, you know? And that's something we're still to this day learning. Like I fixed three glancing sticks at the tournament, and they were all very different, but like, you have different levels of severity. But you know, to me, it's like if a player says they can't play on it, then, you know, I don't care how severe it is. I'm gonna test it, of course, see if it's actually doing it. But, you know, fix it, just swap it, you know.
I would love to like put a pin in that for later as well on the production side, because I think there's implications with these kinds of like interruptions and stuff like that that is worth considering, and even just like the running of the tournament. But yeah, all right. Sorry, continue. I think Carlos, you start.
Well, let me just say one thing too. Like people should be using the knowledge base on the Bumble Bear website, because there is a list of common problems for you to ask questions, tech solutions. There should be a copy of the manual up there that has a circuit diagram. You're trying to do some electrical engineering kinds of stuff. And like for these techs that don't want to open the cab, like I don't know, that's just a bad tech, because Killer Queen is way easier to maintain than a pinball or any retro machine, because you're not touching a motherboard ever. You're not replacing capacitors, you know.
But the only thing that I was like really trying to say is that there's no benchmark of what it's supposed to play like other than experiencing what it's supposed to play like. Like I can't prove to a tech that I'm dropping inputs by like throwing my triple tap on there, being like, "Look, I missed a stick." You know, like I'm supposed to stick here. They're gonna be like, "What? You missed a what?" Like you're pressing the button really fast. Which ones are dropping? Like, how do you know that? You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what, like, I mean, like I said, here at Saturcade, I like maintain the cabs whenever like we're around. Yeah, the tech knows what he's doing as far as like a bad button and stuff. But then like they opened up their other locations, and you know, in Austin and Houston, and now we're getting another one in Fort Worth, which is like, you know, 45 minutes here from Dallas. But yeah, we went down to the Austin one a few months ago for the first time, and while I was there, I just talked to the manager. I was like, "Hey, you know, we have KQ players here. They're gonna know the ones that, like, if you want them to keep coming back, they're the ones that are gonna know what to do." and they're willing to fix the thing. Like, you know, and I talked to the tech, and he was like, yeah, I mean, like, he was just like very open. He was like, no, I obviously don't know how to, that something's wrong with it unless the button just isn't like going anywhere. So they got a key for the ATX players so they can open it up and mess with it whenever they needed to. And I was like, that's one of the things that I love about like Cidercade, that they're just like willing to listen to us. And, you know, when I hear other people talk about like their home cabs and having issues with them, and I'm just like, oh dang, I was like, I just thought, you know, it'd be more like this other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like our venue trusts us implicitly, and they like one of the reasons why we were able to have GDC 5 is like us convincing Sean it's like 5 cabs is a good idea. and like we can repair it. There will be no issues. Put them all on free play. You'll make all your money back. He definitely made all his money.
Yeah.
I was gonna say having them on free play was also a big move that I think hasn't been mentioned enough.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we set a good precedent here.
Something
We
I
can
want to
provide some
expand
of
on
the
here,
data.
though.
Oh, go ahead, Ash.
I was just going to say what I wanted to expand upon here was that, you know, personally, I signed up as a you know, CAD tech and a stream tech volunteer, and you know, I've never done either of those things ever. So I was kind of under the assumption that there was going to be some sort of orientation, and or you know, like at least some documentation on what to do in these situations, and then you know, come day of the tournament, I get a schedule times, and there was never any sort of, hey, have you done this, or like, here's what you do. So I'm just like, okay, and it didn't really end up mattering anyways, which is another point that I was going to bring up, because ultimately I was playing during the times that I was scheduled to be TOing and stream tech. So what ended up happening was I was just running around when I wasn't playing, looking for things to fix, and that worked out okay. But you know, on those 2 points, I mean, I think that there's definitely some room for improvement, because you know, we could be getting volunteers that are signing up because they want to be exposed to these you know, these arenas, and they may not have any knowledge at all about what they're doing or how to do it, when to do it, all that kind of stuff. And it would be really good from an organizational standpoint to check in with everybody who signed up and say, hey, is there anybody with any questions? Or even doing like you know, like just a you know, a quick Q&A session with everybody that has signed up, and then recording that in case people aren't available so that they can review it later, right? I think that would be super, super helpful.
I think that is definitely something that I will be keeping in mind for the next time, because that is something that I was really afraid of going in, which is like, I know these sets of people, like, they've done it. I know that Gino, Ben, and Ash really want to learn it, but they haven't had the opportunity to. And what I was hoping was that it would be sort of an apprenticeship thing where it's like, oh, you'd learn from like Nick Davis or something like that. But like, it usually doesn't turn out that way. So next time, I think
I actually did have a couple moments where people came up to me while I was fixing stuff and were just there to learn.
Nice.
So that was
I think people definitely were like watching me and Nick whenever we're like on that main cab and fixing out the stick, and they're like, "Oh, what's wrong with this?" Like, "Oh, you know, we're doing this, you know," because they're just there for so long. And it's always interesting to see people who like, whenever you open up you know, you open up the panel and lift it up, and then you realize a lot of people don't see the bottom of the panel. Like, oh, there's so many wires and lights and stuff. And I was like, yeah.
All right, so this segment is just, I think we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all for being here. Brian Lee, stay on. Tyler, if you want to talk about stream tech stuff, you can stay on.
Yeah, I can
otherwise, yeah. Thank you, Nick Davis. Thank you, Ash. And thank you, Carlos, for being on here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to my Twitch stream and play some taps.
Bye, guys.
Remember your pound lines, everyone.
So now let's get Abby in here. Let's get Jeff in here. And let's get JC. Hello.
All right.
Hey.
Everyone.
That was all right. Stream tech showing up on time.
Stream tech. Yeah. Well, there you go. They are generally the most reliable of all of the techs.
Old.
Like cab techs, like
shots fired.
Well, cab techs are kind of like they're the Batman, right? They like you shine the signal and they appear, but you don't know when they'll appear, right? And like in what capacity, like. Usually they'll be missing a screwdriver because we only had one screwdriver.
The one screwdriver.
They just show up to work on time every day. Okay. All right. Welcome. So let's get a round of intros going. So obviously we know Brian Lee, our esteemed compatriot from Bumble Bear and San Francisco.
But also a thing we've been doing is just briefly like, in a sentence or two, what did you think you were going to be doing? And then what did you end up, in hindsight doing? Just as a quick summary as part of your intro, that'd be great.
So should I go then?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yep, Brian from SF, also work for Bumble Bear. I've done a lot of cab tech stuff. I think like day of, I was just kind of expecting to just be a glorified tech gopher, just be wherever I needed to be. I know that like my plan was to get knocked out on Saturday to be totally available on Sunday. So I think I asked Felix to not schedule me for too much on Saturday, and then Sunday just like put me wherever I'm most needed. And I think that mostly happened, although I wasn't expecting to go on stream on Saturday, but I mean that was fine. I felt like there were probably a couple of things that I would have been good if I could have left for. It's just like knowing who was going to be doing commentary like on that, so I could have like pulled them like to take my place. Probably been the only thing that would have helped on Sunday. But other than that, I think I was doing what I was expecting to be doing. That's it for me, so we can move on.
Abby, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Abby from Baltimore. I'm the dev for HiveMind, which was our stats system. What I expected to be doing was to set up the stats client and make sure it was all running, and that's pretty much what I ended up doing. I was also expecting to be knocked out on Saturday, and I wasn't, which caused some problems.
You guys ended up in the double elimination like right away, right?
Yeah, we went straight to the knockout bracket from schools, so that was a lot better than I expected to do, which was a good problem to have.
JC, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm JC. I was expecting to be a stream tech, and I did what I expected. I kind of expected that I might have to work with. I didn't know if I'd have to work with commentators or do any sort of audio management. And on Station 3, I did not have to, which was a nice thing for me. It made my life pretty easy. I was also signed up to be a cab tech at the same time, though. I was confused about how that was going to work out, and for the most part, it worked out perfectly fine.
Yeah. From my experience, cab tech is a very on-call sort of situation. So, like, as long as nothing is going wrong. Jeff, you wanna be next?
Sure. Am I not coming? I'm not coming through. Give me 1 sec.
No, you were good.
Oh, I hear you. I wasn't. Okay, that's weird. I wasn't light. Okay, now I'm lighting up in Discord. I wasn't. Anyway, hi. I'm Jeff from now Salt Lake City.
Where were you before?
I lived in Maryland until last year. I, of course, didn't know anything about KQ when I lived in Maryland, basically. My first time playing on a cab was in Salt Lake, so if I had known about it, I would have played, but I didn't. So, like a lot of you, I expected to be knocked out on Saturday, and I definitely was, so that was great. As far as stream teching goes, I expected to be doing some stuff with OBS, like updating overlays, maybe. My experience with stream teching comes from Smash, which is pretty similar, capture card, OBS, overlay, mostly the same stuff. I also ended up doing some kind of pseudo-emergency TOing and also assistant computer surgery, I guess. Because So I was on Cab 4 on finals day, and that setup just had like, I don't know, it didn't want to be in this world anymore.
Yeah, it was done. It was its time. Unfortunately,
could have lasted one more day after all these years. Jeez.
Yeah. I don't know. At the end, I thought it was going to be working. You know, I thought after we fixed the graphics card problem, that was going to be it. It was going to be up and running, and everything was going to be great and smooth. But I guess it was a venue internet problem, maybe at the end of the day. After all of that, too. So I don't know. That was a that stream setup had some trouble for sure. I heard that we managed to save maybe some of the matches from that setup, which is nice. I heard that there was some really good matches on there. Especially I think Bing Bong versus Chad Lads was like this amazing match, and I really, really, really hope that's one of the ones that managed to get saved. I'm not sure if it did or not, but that was a great match. Anyway, let's talk about
Yeah, I'll definitely follow up with more of the info on what we have recorded and being able to get off of online. Because even if we have the bits, maybe frozen stuff for certain games, bad feeds and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely intend to follow up shortly on that. And then we have Tyler. You want to take it next? And then a special guest returning, Ash.
Yes.
Tyler, you take it.
Covered it a little earlier. I sort of
Sure.
ran through the initial checks, making sure streams were good. Stream teched primarily Saturday on Station 2. And I think that was kind of the expectation also, just sort of making sure the streams are running, making sure the output looks good. Stream's still running. And I think that was basically what I did. Yeah.
Special call out I want to make that I really appreciated you being able and willing to run bandwidth tests to Twitch on all 5 of the streams before we started streaming on Sunday, and just being able to offload that to you, and you knowing how to do that made my life so much better. And I think obviously had a positive impact, I think, on our confidence going into the streaming. So I wanted to give a special shout out there. And then Ash.
Oh, hi. I'm back.
Why are you back?
Tell us.
I'm back. I have things to talk about here. I think this is really the portion of the tournament that I feel like we have the most room for improvement. Definitely some things that we could do here. I mean, as you guys know, I was I signed up for both Tech and Cab. Stream Tech and Cab Tech. But from the Stream Tech portion of the things, I think one of the biggest places where we can improve would be just making sure that we're, in alignment with how we're configuring everything, well in advance of the tournament. I think we were still doing things down to the wire at the very end there. That I think could have been maybe explored a little sooner. And I know that there's definitely, all kinds of things in the peripheral that you got to worry about and everything like that. But setting, I think one of the ways that we could achieve that goal is just to set some hard deadlines of when we want things to be happening. And if they go past that, then we have, sort of, an avenue of that we can take to resolve something getting behind in whatever aspect. So I think that's a huge point.
Yeah. So I know D-Ray was doing a whole bunch of testing, up to a few days before the tournament. And I wondered if you could tell us some of the things you tested and some of the things that you thought were going to go wrong that didn't end up going wrong, but then there were also the things that you had no idea about that went sideways.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, quickly, I did a lot of testing around bit rates and bandwidth because I thought at the very outset of all of this that was going to be our main challenge from a streaming perspective, being able to stream on a max 20 megabit per second upload link at the Detour, 5 streams, generally wanting to use basically only half of that ideally. So really we're talking about 10 megabits per second. That's how we got to the eventual 2000 kilobits per second stream profile that we use on all of the cabs. I did a lot of testing leading up to this to figure out, what can we do that's going to be performant on a mix of computers and also be able to work for the network. Unfortunately, that's like the area where we had no problems. Like the internet, I think, was really robust. Save Jeff, you mentioned maybe on Sunday there started to be some issues toward the end of the day that might have been upload related. I'm not sure. I definitely agree that it's possible, and we never really got to the bottom of that, or whether it was like just the detour cab station for PC not working out. But when we also, before we could kind of test that more, we like started shutting down streams, so didn't really like get a firm answer on that. But generally, I thought the bandwidth issue was like not really an issue. What was the main issue from my perspective is just the sheer number of permutations of different devices and hardware and software. I mean, we had 3 different operating systems across the 5 machines. We had like, I swear, like a different capture card on every single one. And, despite a lot of efforts that we took to try to standardize the setups as much as possible, like using the same USB hubs and the same active USB extender cables and HDMI cables and all this, when push came to shove, I wasn't like monitoring all of those setups as they were happening on Friday, and we were plugging capture cards into USB hubs, and like I knew that was a no-no from all my testing, but it's like it wasn't on my checklist to like go look at all the cabs and how they were set up and make sure that we're not running capture cards through the USB hub. That's like, and also the setup was kind of more designed for a desktop behind the cab type of a situation. We had multiple laptops, which changes the whole like USB options, like where do the ports need to go? Oh, now you need to run cameras all the way out to the laptop instead of that just going into the PC behind. And it changed some things that so I mean, we've already since then started working on a document of just outlining, well, what would be kind of the ideal setup for mobile or laptop versus a desktop, and the notable differences there, because that's something that I think we just going into this did not really think about how important that difference is going to be.
Yeah, and that definitely ties into Ash's point about like we didn't really know, right? Like coming up to like the day of the tournament, it's like, well, we have an idea of how we want to like set all these things up, but and we have the list of things, and I slowly watched the parts like disperse across the bar and like all get used up, but then like we actually go behind them and it's like, oh, we did the wrong thing.
Yeah, turns out you can plug USBs in a lot of different ways. Or like, they're pretty universal, you might say.
Don't use Bluetooth only devices in a tournament environment. That was, I think, a big fail on my part. My streaming setup, I had just bought these like $15 accessories to go with it, and I thought that they worked on wired, but I didn't check the description well enough, and apparently they're only Bluetooth. So while I had plugged them in, everyone was complaining about it. I was like, "What's wrong with these things? They're totally plugged in. Why are they not working?" And
yeah, that's real. That's real. RF all day. If you're going wireless for these types of environments, the RF like USB plugs, I think it's like must have for the peripherals.
Okay, so I did want to make sure we touched on something else, which was that we decided. So there are a number of different stat solutions in the Killer Queen community, as you all know. And we at San Francisco have decided we're throwing our weight behind HiveMind. And I wanted a chance to give Abby like a chance to evangelize about why HiveMind is the best and why everyone should use HiveMind and not every other stat solution that is out there.
You can't invent it here.
Well, I'm not a very good salesperson, so I'll give it a shot. HiveMind, one of the main advantages to it is it's a server-based solution. So when you play a game, those stats are available on the website. That'll be up immediately, and it also means you don't have to run your stats client from the streaming system, because you're getting your overlay from the website. Another advantage is you can even pull up the live stats on your phone if you feel like it. There's a link to that. Some other future options is tournament integration, where I know a lot of the things that I was hearing the TOs talk about was finding a game that's available. That's something I'm going to have available in HiveMind, where the TO hits a button and says, well, what game can I put on my cab right now? And it will integrate with, it currently integrates with Challenge. It will future plans for Smash.gg also. So I guess that's my best sales pitch for it right now.
Well, and D-Ray and I both had did quite a bit of work
And
for
Ash.
yeah,
Oh,
and
on-
Ash.
on- on-
And
on High Five,
honestly,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
let me list. It was like D-Ray and Chris, Blue Chris at first. We call him Blue Chris. I don't know why.
He was wearing a blue shirt the first day he showed up, and there was another Chris. So Blue Chris.
Blue Chris. So D-Ray's conception of the overlay that we used for GDC, I think, is probably one of the best ways of visualizing the game at the moment. I know it doesn't have a prediction meter, but I think at some point we should integrate Chicago and Jess's work to like have a machine learned model that does a prediction meter.
Yeah.
But
I think like making it templatized too, where like different logos and stuff could be swapped out, would be something I would be interested in collaborating on if people are indeed interested in this like general approach to the layout. But.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was working with you for getting the overlay set up, and you ended up making a great looking overlay. So I was
gotta
really
give props to
impressed by
Derek
that.
and Kelly on the design front there. They really helped years ago at this point, pre-COVID to help like
that is a long
design
time
that from the ground up.
So. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if like Salt Lake City has started using HiveMind yet, or Phoenix or Cincy, but you all should use it. It's good.
Yeah, we haven't yet, but interested.
It's definitely top of mind for Cincy after seeing it not only in DC but now across 5 cabs in San Francisco. I want that. I want that at Wondercade.
Happy to collab on that. I thought that the stats stuff, we want to do a lot more. We wanted to make improvements to snail stats, and we talked about post-game overlay. Ash did a bunch of work on that. There were many things that we wanted to do that we ended up cutting, and I thought, even though we still were doing a lot still at the last minute, we did do a lot of cutting, and I thought that was good. Just need to do a little bit more of that. But I think that overall, what we ended up landing with the stats stuff felt really good and polished, and I want to give a special shout out to Abby, especially, but also, again, Ash and Felix for putting in a lot of time to make that part really like rock solid. I think the stats went down at one point because it was running from like the Cab 4 machine that ended up just bricking. It's like right before that, we're like, hey, maybe we can just run all the stats from one PC. All right, let's choose the most stable one. All right, 4 are like the one that we've had forever. And then that day, boom, it kicks the bucket. It's like, oh, of course it would happen this way. But yeah, I thought that was really solid.
To segue off of that just momentarily, I think it would be a really good idea once we've established a hardware configuration and a software configuration at our initial, day of, bringing everything out, getting it all set up. I think if we stick with that, that is probably optimal, because trying to change things in the middle of a tournament introduces all kinds of unknowns. Like, like when we switched from capturing on all the individual devices to the one, there were a couple of instances where, like on mine, whenever you would log in, it would restart the capturing of the statistics. So we had duplication of those stats, right, on my individual cap. So that's something to be aware of, is that whenever you start to change these process or at least these configurations, then you can introduce all those variables, and it makes it less of a robust system when you start to do that.
Yeah. So actually, what happened there was on the first day on cabs, I think both on 4 and 5, we couldn't get the stats client to run. the current version of the stats client is off of KQ WebSockets, which was written by Chris Pressinger, who's in Baltimore here also. And the problem with that is I don't actually know how to fix it sometimes. So I was trying to get it working on Cab 5 and couldn't. And so I said, well, if we can't get it running, I have a new version of the client. It's not fully tested yet, but if we don't have anything running, let's just run this on 4 and 5. So we did that for the first day. And, I was looking up my stats and I was like, there's a few events missing. So, I ended up finding a lot of bugs in the client. And I wanted to go back to the previous client for the second day to avoid that. So we decided, well, if we have it running on this machine, let's just run it for all the cabs on this machine. The problem was that happened to be Cab 4's.
The one that bricked. Yeah, totally.
And I had even thought about right before the tournament started, I should put these configs on another system in case we need to start it up on there really quick. But then I didn't.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, I think like figuring out what the ideal approach is there, like recommendation would be good. Like we can explore, because it seems like the issues we had with running it on a central spot were like not specific to that.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't fundamentally like a problem of that model. It was incidental things,
Right.
but there are risk factors when you're doing everything from once. I think it'd be good for us to like evaluate whether running them independently as enclosed systems or some sort of like centralized thing would be a good approach.
Yeah.
I think on that topic as well, I think that from a broader production perspective, having a stream that is separate from the 5 cabs that is actually just, a lot of people I think have brought up this feedback, but it seemed to be pretty recurring, having a stream, the primary stream, be actually kind of just switching between different other streams that are happening. That way when a cab goes down, we can just like boom, an OBS switch to a different KQSF 3, now KQSF 4, there's just like hype match, let's switch over here. Like we had talked about that, but it was too close to the event to really like pull that off, and also would need another setup and whatnot. But I do very much like that kind of a direction, and like curious.
Sort of the NFL red zone approach there.
Exactly.
It's pretty wild. That'd be pretty high production, but really
Yeah,
cool.
that would take a lot of like production work, but
yeah,
I agree. The hype, that would be cool. I also kind of like piggybacking off of like the work that you were doing, Abby, on that tournament day, trying to update the Hivemind client and everything. I remarked to Nick Davis at the time, I was like, it is crazy how far our Killer Queen streams have come at this point, because like back in the day, you would get a cab feed, maybe game sound, and that was about it. And now we have people that are live coding stats implementations to run on 5 different cabinets and streams at the same time. I think that's really cool, and you definitely put a lot of work into it, and it shows.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's super well.
Yeah, so going back to the ideal setup thing for Hivemind, the client, the recommended configuration for the client is to just run on an independent Raspberry Pi inside the cab that's just always there. That's how we do it in Baltimore, and that's how I hooked up DCs. That has worked really well, and the other advantage is even if you're not streaming, you're getting the stats. You can still pull them up off the website. You can go on there, and people can go on the website and see if anyone's playing right now. So there's a lot of advantages to doing that way. So that's kind of the recommended setup for that.
Awesome. Do you have a link to? Is there like that setup described anywhere that you could?
I think it's actually in the setup description.
Oh, awesome! The Raspberry Pi pieces.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I have. So I do also have a parts list for everything you need, and I'm
awesome.
I've just finished a script that will set it up from scratch for you. That's going to be released with the new version of the site that I've been working on for a couple months now.
So before we go to our outro, I want to know from JC and Jeff's perspective if like there was any sort of training or something we could have done, or if you guys were like totally comfortable with the whole thing and like we're good to go.
I mean, I needed a briefing. And I mentioned in Twitch chat earlier that I got my station specific briefing from Nick, actually, who was the stream tech at Station 3 while I was playing. And when it was my turn to come over, I'm like, hey, how does this work? He told me, here's what you do. This is the situation with this stream. All you got to do is update names, and then manage the Smash GG. That was pretty simple. But considering that there were like a lot of things that were the same across the different stations, it probably would have made sense to have a centralized like 15 minutes for gameplay starts. Like, hey, when you're stream teching your station, these are the things you're gonna have to do. We will let you know if there are any station-specific responsibilities you have. But across all the stations, you got to do this, 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 and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would pretty much agree with that. Basically, everything that you could reasonably expect to have to do as a stream tech was covered in that one pager. I think I forgot to click start game on at least one Smash GG match, so that's on me. But yeah, as far as prep goes for like what you would normally expect to have happen at a tournament, shy of graphics cards unseating themselves, I felt pretty decently prepared to do stream work, which is impressive, I guess, that it was so well covered because I've never stream tech for KQ before. I just have experience from other games. So
to be clear, HiveMind made it very easy for us. Like there was a lot of stuff that was going on that was really cool that was happening totally automatically when it was working. So it was good stuff.
Yeah, HiveMind is incredible. I've done something that had like one part of the many things that HiveMind does, and that one thing is so annoying and difficult, and that's just one little tiny part of HiveMind. So just incredible.
Oh yeah,
software.
like manually updating score pips in like your stream manager, like insane hassle, and your HiveMind will take care of that combined with whatever layout you were running for that event.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, with an event that is running HiveMind, just that one page will get pretty much anyone from I don't know how to use OBS to yeah, sure, I can run this for half an hour or something.
Cool. Well, really appreciate all of your loyalty throughout the weekend. Yeah, you all held it down. I mean, literally, we could not have done this without all of these people stepping up, and I really appreciate all the work you all did. The calm and poise with which you approached the stations, and it really like helped me because I was stressed out of my mind.
That's certainly true.
But yeah, this was really fantastic. Thanks for joining us and kind of talking through some of the stuff. There's still, I think, a lot more to talk through and digest, and try to synthesize this into some like actionable things and recommendations that we can take both for our tournaments here and I think more broadly for people trying to get set up and improve their production or their events experience. So
one minor note on something that I think was a little bit helpful there also was that when we initially did our setup, all of our streams didn't have any sort of identifying information about which stream it was. So as we moved on, I added the labels of what cab it was to the video, and that really helped, I think, with just identifying which monitor we were showing it on in the venue, and and where the streams are going and all that. So I think that would be something to look towards doing in the future as well.
100%. Special guest,
Sean.
Hey guys.
Hey, welcome, Sean. For those who don't know, this is the owner of the Detour and formerly Brewcade. He has supported us from the very beginning of our scene, and wanted to give him, big shout out for helping us make this happen. We could have, I know Dan was very persistent on the 5 cabs, and you were understandably maybe hesitant, but we got there. And yeah, wanted to hear from your perspective how the event went.
Hi everybody. Thanks for letting me be a part of the conversation. I think the event went off without a hitch. I am super stoked that I didn't allow my inability to see the full vision with all 5 cabs. Obviously, it would have made the tournament last longer, which obviously it's something we really wanted to avoid, just so that the fatigue and the amount of time it took was not overly extended. So that was really good planning on the part of KQSF. And my overall feedback is, the KQSF scene knows how much I hear so many different things about owners and this and that, and I've always felt really stoked and blessed that what happened here when we first brought the cab into the bar, into Brewcade before it became Detour, it was something that I feel was very organic, and that is kind of a rare thing to happen. This is the way the scene grew, the way the community grew, where everybody became really close and tight friends. It was really the days that the scene everybody would come in became one of my favorite days to hang out in the bar. It didn't really even just feel like work. So that's just my thoughts there. But back to your original question about the tournament. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
There was, the feedback was great. The bar, it's been a tough year, and it was really nice to have the bar be as busy as it was. It felt like pre-pandemic business. So seeing that kind of flow into the bar was, very promising during this time of recovery that we're in. And, I couldn't be more stoked to have seen the passion and the dedication, the attention to detail that our scene brought to this tournament. And, as I've said to, almost everybody on this channel, I feel very fortunate to have such a passionate scene here. I feel lucky and blessed, and, I really appreciate what they bring to the bar, ultimately. Without being long-winded, that's pretty, I don't know if I answered your question, but that's how I really feel.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sean. You another round of applause for you. We love you. You've been so great to us. I know, Dan, do you wanna T.O., this is it. We're done.
This
it's
is
a wrap.
Yeah, this is just
what
about
you got,
it.
What you got for us? Mm-hmm. Take us home, brother.
Great job, everybody.
Truly
Thank
great
you.
job.
Thank you to all of our volunteers. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you to all our viewers. We wouldn't be doing this without all of you. And of course, thank you to all the players who came out and competed, because you all are the reason we bothered to get 5 cabs in a bar on a weekend and have 125 people tapping away.
Yeah, we'll keep breaking stuff, making it better together. I love this kind of stuff. This project was so much fun. Thank you all for all of the collaboration and teamwork. It's truly inspiring. I've taken a lot of lessons from it already into my real work and other relationships and stuff. This has been really, really special. And there were challenges, but there always are. And I would go through it all again and hope to do so with you all. So
yeah. Cool. That's it.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Good job. We did it. Yay.
Bye.
Adios.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.